I also got to see if Facebook is working real quick before... Oh, yeah, it's working. Well, what do you fucking know? In Chatelet, my dudes, and welcome to Polecat Cast number 120. Souther versus Patreon. Well, she's Southern. Court acquits man in rape case, millionaire suicide, and Mrs. Doctor Who Part 2. Where stealthy polecats ferret out the best feels, funnies, and what the fucks to discuss Slam Bam Badger style. Today's show will be broadcast from my little corner of YouTube, as will future Polecat shows until further notice. Also, a special hello to people who are not watching this stream on the normal location, which is YouTube. We also are currently broadcasting to multiple locations all over the internet, so hello to folks that are watching us on Twitch, Livestream, Ustream, Periscope, Facebook Live, or any other places that I may have neglected to mention. So with all these new changes, it's going to take me a little bit of time to get the ball rolling, and some may question if I have the marbles to host an HBR show on my channel, also broadcasting to so many places on the internet. But I am confident that I have the testicular fortitude and cojones to make sure that we have a ball of a time. Today's Polecat panel consists of the big half of Big and Robot, Scott, the silverback self-aware simian, Polecat Punster and Pussycat Punisher, Hannah, Dr. Random McCam, Panda, Puppet Master, and Long-Range Rhetorician, and Max, the yellow Simpsons-kin critter that does not have jaundice dude, who is a really good friend of mine, and I like him very much. And I forgot to write up a thing about him, though, but I still like him quite a bit.
I see how it is.
Well, it's because I'm missing a few cells, Max. And,
oh, okay, sure. Pull the cancer card. That dropping T is fucking with his brain.
Pull in the cancer card. And myself, with my Globius Cruisinger and scepter in hand, me, the Supreme Doge in charge. Today we'll be discussing the following topics. Remember when I predicted that the new female Doctor Who was going to have feminist joyless bullshit injected to it? Well, I assume you guys already knew that I'm usually right in my predictions when it comes to entertainment media, because the Doctor is going to be a bisexual in a lesbian affair, or at least this is what's being predicted, despite the fact that the Doctor doesn't really have any history of romantic partners. Meanwhile, in India, false rape accusations are getting so bad that the courts are actually beginning to acknowledge the fact that they happen. I don't know if this is good or not. In the wake of Lauren Southern's Patreon page being taken down, a shitstorm has arisen. Possibly in an effort to engage hardcore damage control, Patreon CEO Jack Conti has made a video and also appeared on Dave Rubin talking about changes to Patreon's appeal process as well as their investigative practices. Lastly, a millionaire commits suicide when he learns his wife has been sleeping with another man after he suffered a stroke. I wonder what the divorce and the family court system will do to him. And finally, our bonus story for the patron-only after show. For those of you who are our patrons, you may know that I did place an order for Milo Yiannopoulos' book Dangerous from Amazon, because while I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, I think his fighting on behalf of free speech far eclipses any differences that we may have. I thought it could be fun for me to read the book to the patrons. So I read part of the segment called Why Feminists Hate Me, because not only because it talks about feminism, but also because he has some things to say about MRAs. So I'm going to continue reading that chapter because it gets a little bit lengthy, and I'm curious to see what his thoughts are. Anyway, if you'd like to participate in our after shows either as an audience member or a participant, please consider becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. Earlier today, Jordan B. Peterson's Gmail, Google, and YouTube account were taken down. It was about, I don't know, a couple hours ago? For a few hours at least. And there was no explanation as to why this happened. We knew that this was news. However, it was so close to the show, we didn't really have time to set up any write-ups. But I still think this is worth noting for those of you who are paying attention. Apparently, Michael Keller says, replace this link is not working to this YouTube video. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to see if I can address... See if I can address this. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, that's the good link right there, Brian. I just posted it.
You just posted it?
Yeah,
why,
in the chat.
Why is it... okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to that. Why is it not working?
I think right there, Brian. Not enough testosterone.
Not. Oh, is that why? Oh, I see.
Probably.
Yeah, I got
two
that.
balls don't have that problem.
Chat.
Oh, that was.
Well,
really
how did that happen? I don't even understand how that happened. And it just says it's just called Brian Martinez live stream. What the fuck? All right, well, whatever. It's going. All right, so I'll change all the info later. This is like a new thing we're doing, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. I also got to see if Facebook is working real quick before. Oh yeah, it's working. Well, what do you fucking know? All right, I apologize, Zuck. Don't Zuck me because I cussed. I don't know what your rules are on Facebook. Okay, so Jordan Peterson's account was taken down for a little while. He couldn't access his YouTube or his Google or his Gmail or any of that. Some time passed. There was a lot of bitching on Twitter and shit, which totally makes sense. And a little while ago, it came back up. Jordan Peterson's last tweet about it is, my Gmail... Well, I'll just read it in his voice. My Gmail YouTube account is back. Why was it shut down? Who knows? Why did they refuse to reinstate it? Who knows? Why did they turn it back on? So, Peterson's account is back up. Just something I thought you guys should know. When I saw it, it really it bugged me because there was no explanation. This is my issue with all of this stuff. There are things that are happening to people either through YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Patreon or whatever, and there are no explanations. There are people that are just silently doing stuff, and then when people kick up enough shit, then there's either a response to it, a message, or they just silently bring everything back. It could have just been a bug in Peterson's case. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but it doesn't look good, is what I'm saying. Like, when it looks like a pattern, you irritate people. Scott and Mike brought this to my attention just as we were preparing for the show. Apparently, YouTube is setting new policies to curb extremist videos. This is an older article, but, well, actually, why don't you tell me a little bit about it, since you know more, I guess.
Basically, what happened is this article came out on June 18th, this past June 18th, and it's been, I saw some tweets from folks today on Twitter about it. Basically, what they're saying is that well, part of the problem here is the language that they're using. They're talking about not removing videos from YouTube, but basically burying them. And they use religious incitement as an example. But when they're talking about this, they're saying that, oh, we're gonna demonetize videos. We're gonna take them out of suggested videos. We're gonna basically bury them so that they're much harder to find. But this brings up a problem wherein it's kind of like some of the things that they've announced recently that use very ambiguous language, like the YouTube's Heroes thing, where it's very kind of broad and nearly anything could fall under this criteria. So one of the things they said was Google said it would rely on the specialized knowledge of groups of experts on issues like hate speech, self-harm, and terrorism. The company also said it planned to work with counter-extremist groups to help identify content aimed at radicalized or recruiting extremists. Now, experts, what experts? Hate speech? What is hate speech? They use this terminology that is very, very broad, and
yeah, it's really ambiguous. It's like really, if you say, "Well, we're going to fight hate speech," that immediately makes it makes me think, okay, so how are you guys defining that? Tell us about the new female Doctor Who Part 2 as new things have possibly developed. The show hasn't even started yet, by the way.
So, ladies and gentlemen, when you think of the most toxic fan bases out there, what comes to mind? Obviously a lot, but to me it's like Steven Universe, Beliebers, fans of Silent Hill, post number 3. And in my time on the internet, I've never seen a fan base that is as omnipresent and crazy as the Doctor Who fan base. Thankfully, I've been able to ignore the toxicity, as I still don't know a single goddamn thing about the show aside from 2 things. A, multiple actors have played the character, and B, almost every person I've ever met that has contributed to my deteriorating mental health has been a Doctor Who fan. Now, that's not to say that there aren't good people who are Doctor Who fans, some of which I'm going to be talking to today.
And some, I assume, are good people.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. But nonetheless, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Doctor Who, being a morphological entity, is a core essential element of his character, hence why so many actors have played the role. And recently, it was announced that the world would be introduced to a female Doctor Who that will be played by Broadchurch actress Jodie Whittaker. With the little knowledge I had of the character, I'm like, it seems to be a fun little experiment, innocent enough, as long as they weren't trying to ham-fist identity politics into the mix. But why in God's name would I think that when I consider that a huge portion of this show's fan base comes from Tumblr? On top of the new Doctor Who being a woman, she is also going to be bisexual and have a lesbian affair. This is according to Michelle Gomez, who plays the character of Missy in Doctor Who.
Scott, do you want to take this one? All right.
Let's talk about the Indian High Court judges.
That's right.
How they acknowledge women misuse the legal system. In many countries throughout the world, people abuse the legal system for personal gain. In the U.S., the term lawsuit happy is often used to describe individuals who sue one another for the smallest infractions. However, India's culture lends itself to a very different type of abuse of their legal system. Many Indian women bring forth suits against men for raping them. However, a large quantity of these cases are brought under false pretenses. Many involve such circumstances as a woman claiming that a man promised marriage before engaging in sexual intercourse. With the promise unfulfilled, a woman can cry rape. In many cases, if the woman is living with the man's family at the time of the alleged rape, the man's family can also be jailed. This week in India, a Delhi High Court judge presided over a case where a woman had appealed a lower court's ruling acquitting a man of raping her. Before marrying the man in 2015, a woman filed the woman filed a rape case. The man allegedly raped the woman after being forced to consume a sedative-laced drink. However, during an interview with the police, the woman admitted that there was a misunderstanding between the couple, casting doubt on the rape claim. Both the man and the woman had asked the police report to be quashed because they both wished to marry. The lower courts rejected the request, forcing the man to stand trial. During the trial, the woman decided not to provide any testimony, and being the only witness in the court, had no choice but to acquit the man. However, after the acquittal, the woman turned hostile and filed an appeal, which ended up in the Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court Justice Pratibha Rani rejected the woman's case. In a statement she made, Rani said that this court has observed on a number of occasions cases where both persons, out of their own will, develop consensual physical relationships. When the relationship breaks up, the women use the law as a weapon for vengeance and personal vendetta. They tend to convert consensual acts as incidents of rape, defeating the very purpose of the provision. This requires a clear demarcation between rape and consensual sex, especially in the case where the complaint is the consent had been given on promise of marriage. Justice Rani's statement showed that at least one person in India's legal system understands that women can file false rape claims against men.
Patreon has come under fire after the controversial banning of Canadian-based independent journalist Lauren Southern. The move seems to be related to Southern's involvement with the French-based anti-illegal immigration and anti-human trafficking group Génération Identitaire. Or Identitaire, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Italian, I believe. Earlier in May, Southern and members of Génération Identitaire were briefly detained by the Italian Coast Guard, although never arrested or charged, after attempts to halt a German NGO ship known to be ferrying illegal immigrants from Libya to Sicily. According to Southern, the ship was empty at the time, and it was on its way to pick up more migrants. In the letter sent to Southern by Patreon, they sum up their reasoning for the closing of her account by stating, quote, "It appears that you are currently raising funds in order to take part in activities that are likely to cause loss of life," end quote. Supporters of Southern were quick to point out that her banning seemed politically motivated and also hypocritical, as Patreon also hosted several Antifa-related accounts who seem much more apt to cause loss of life than Southern herself. One example is It's Going Down, or IGD, which was in fact taken down. Patreon CEO Jack Conte took to YouTube a week later to attempt to explain the reasoning behind Southern's banning and to announce new policies aimed at making his company more transparent. In the video, Conte states that Patreon will also be banning the prominent Antifa group It's Going Down from their service. Conte further states that a warning system and appeals process are also in the works for the user of the website. It is unclear if the appeals process, once in place, would apply to Southern, But even if it did, Southern has stated that she would not seek to appeal Patreon's decision and instead has opted to move to a different platform. Phil Smith, 52, committed suicide after suspecting his wife was having an affair after following to witness her with another man. Mr. Smith was a successful businessman and moved out of his £1.5 million home that he shared with his partner and their 3 daughters a few days before his death. Mr. Smith left delayed text messages to his children and friends before hanging himself in a rural holiday chalet. The owner of the chalet said that he had booked a couple of times prior, one time paying and never showing up. Mr. Smith had suffered a stroke in 2012 that left him with pain and depression. Mrs. Smith denies having an affair, saying that the stroke left him paranoid, and that although they had talked about divorce, they were working through the issues. His daughter, Kiana, who worked with the father, said that he had broken down in tears at the office on Tuesday, January 31st, when he told her he had seen his wife with another man. Kiana said that he planned to see a divorce lawyer and was looking into flats to move into because the relationship was over. She said, quote, he loved her to bits, but he couldn't see a future. End quote. So I want to thank Max, Mike, Scott, and Hannah for joining me, as well as the people who contributed write-ups, my stapler, as well as Mike J. and Max also, and Andrew. Thank you for being so kind as to help us prepare for today's show. I want to thank Super Nerdland for helping set up the multi-stream. I know that there were some hiccups this time, and we had some weirdness that happened. Hopefully this is something that we will be able to solve very quickly so that you guys will get consistent and reasonably smooth streams in the future. As soon as I figure out what the culprit is, I'll try to fix it, at least on my end. I guess aside from that, I thought I would let you guys know that I'm going to be starting chemo. Tomorrow I have an appointment to essentially get some things looked at to determine my risk. Today I learned that essentially I'm at a stage 3 non-seminoma cancer. It's spread, as you guys know, to my lungs. I have 5 masses in there. They're going to be giving me the full 4 rounds. It's going to be brutal. I start doing that next Monday. I will basically doing 5 days in a row of IV injections, and then there'll be a 3-week break, or 2-week break, I'm sorry, and then I'll do another round, so that'll be round 2, and then round 3, and then round 4. Sometime in late October, I'm supposed to be done with that, and then if there's anything left, then there will be surgery. If not, then I'm done. So we'll see how it goes. It turns out it's going to be faster than I thought, or at least that they originally told me, but it all depends on how quickly I recover from the chemo. And I'm relatively confident that I can do this, especially with the support that I've been getting from you guys and people who are close to me. But we'll see how it goes. But the reason why I'm saying this is not so you guys can all feel sorry for me, because I don't need that, but because I may not be doing the shows next week because of how much time I'm going to be spending in a hospital bed, basically getting shit pumped into my veins. So there may be some other people operating it, and we'll still be doing the multi-stream. It'll be on Twitch, it'll be on Periscope, it'll be on YouTube, as well as Facebook and other places, so be on the lookout for that. Hopefully it's a way that we can try to grow our audience. And again, like I said before, the technical issues that we experienced today is basically what would happen when you try something new for the first time, but we should hopefully have them fixed very, very quickly. So with that said, thank you guys for joining us on today's Polecat cast. It's now time for me to go into the after show and do a reading from Milo Yiannopoulos' Dangerous, and we'll talk to you guys next time.